This is literally going to determine whether you ascend or you do not. And it's which path you're going to choose in this lifetime. It's whether you're going to choose the path of service to self or whether you're going to choose the path of service to others. And I'm going to start to break this down for you in this video. So if you want to ascend, you're going to want to watch this. The path of service to self versus service to others comes from the law of one. The law of one is a channeled text. It's a channeled text that comes from a 6-density soul, which is a compilation of souls. And what they do is they channel this book called the Law of One. It's raw contact, the Law of One. And what the Law of One speaks about, its really main point, the thing that it talks about over and over again, is whether you choose the path of service to self or service to others. Now, in the Law of One, what it talks about is the different densities of consciousness. And what we do throughout our soul's evolution is we ascend from level 1, density 1, to density 9. In this process, what we go through is we start at 1, which is basically you're a rock and you're just pure consciousness. And then as you evolve, you start to recognize yourself more, learn yourself more. You start to self-actualize in a way. And so what we are doing during this time is that we are going from 3rd density to 4th density. This is where we're at right now. And in 3rd density to 4th density, what happens is we have a choice. And that choice is whether we choose service to self or we choose service to others. Service to self, what that means is literally you serve yourself. Service to others means that you serve others. Now, this decision right here is going to determine if you go through your proper ascension period or your ascension timeline. So we go from 3rd to 4th, and then we go to 5th, and then we go to 6th. And what the Law of One, this soul complex, is they are level 6. But here's the thing, is that if you choose the path of service to self, what the Law of One speaks about is that you can't go past 4th density. It's called the 4th density negative. So if you choose the path of service to self, you go into 4th density negative, and you can't go past 4th density on the negative path. The service to others path allows you to go to 4th, and then to 5th, to 6th, to 7th, to 8th, to 9th. So what choice you make will literally determine whether you go through your proper ascension timeline, your ascension path, or you do not. And so how do you make this choice? How do you choose the path of service to others so that you can properly ascend, properly progress your soul? Well, it's not as easy as you think, especially in today's modern age. Choosing the path of service to others is something that we have become very disconnected from. I'm going to tell you how you can start to do this. So let's go in and let's talk about the difference between the path of service to self and the path of service to others. I'm going to write service to self in red to exemplify the negative path. So service to self is much more fear-driven and ego-driven. Now, the path of, I'm going to write it in blue, service to others is much more love and unity-driven. Now, we see this happening in the world. The service to self path, because it's run by fear and ego, we see this playing out a lot in our world today. The biggest examples of entities that are choosing the service to self path are things like elites, mass media, large corporations, government. These are all the examples of the service to self path. They're like the biggest examples of that because they feed off of fear and it's all ego driven. It's for the self. And so when you're living this service to self path, everything is really, it's for you. On the service to self path, you think that you are going to get your power by the manipulation of others, by instilling fear into others, by running your life from your ego. That's what makes you think that you're going to get power. And it's a lot of greed on this path. Now, when we choose the path of service to others, this is about love and unity. So when we go into love and unity, examples of this, the highest examples are Jesus, not in the way that we worship Jesus, just what Jesus stood for. Buddha. Another example is like Alan Watts. What these people did is it's all service to others. It's for others. And so they live from a place of love and unity. And when we are living from this place, what we're really doing is that we are living from our heart. We're living from our soul. And what we are doing, it's not for us necessarily. It is not just, what am I getting out of this? What it is instead is I'm living from my heart. I'm choosing to serve others from a selfless place. When we're choosing to live from service to self, we are choosing to live from fear and ego and like, what am I getting out of this? This is, what can I do for others without any expectation of getting anything back? And this is, what can I do for myself? What am I getting out of this? And so these two paths determine, are you going to go on the path where you can't ascend past fourth density, or are you going to continue your path? And so this is the path that we ultimately want to choose, because this is what is going to allow us to ascend properly. So let's get into now how to like make these decisions, how to live from this place each day. All right, so let's talk about how these show up in everyday life. Service to self, service to others. Okay, so the way that this is going to show up in everyday life on the path of service to self is just that you are living from the ego. And so this doesn't necessarily have to be something in the way that we think about ego, like I'm always doing something bad, I'm really manipulating others. Like that is definitely something here, but it's also just when you make a decision, it's like, what is in this for me? And so an example of this would be like, let's say that you have a friend that needs some money and you lend them the money and you're doing it from a place of like, I am expecting something back for myself. So I'm expecting them to like me more, or I'm expecting them to give me back more money, or I now feel like I have power over this person so that I can manipulate them. That is choosing the path of service to self. Now, the difference would be service to others, you're choosing love. So in that situation, it's not no expectation of getting anything back. So in this situation of lending some money to a friend, it's just, here's the money, here it is, use it. Use it for whatever you need to. Like, I hope that it helps. And there's no expectation of getting anything back from it. I just give it freely and I'm not expecting anything back from it. And so some other examples of how we can choose the path of service to others and just like everyday actions is like offering someone a smile. This can be supporting someone who is hurting. So like maybe you have a friend that reaches out and is just like, hey, I'm really hurting right now. Like I could really use some support. And you just offer support to them without needing anything back. Another way that we can do this is like, as you're really starting to choose a space, this path is offering services for free. And so I know that like when I was starting to do breath work, I needed to do some sessions and I just offered my breathwork sessions for free. And this was a way of serving others without the expectation of getting anything in return. And so another thing on the path of service to others is that this is ultimately living your soul mission. What you're really starting to do is you start to embody, you'll start to live more and more of your soul mission. Your soul mission is what God gave to you to bring into this world during this time, during this life. And when we choose this path of service to others, what starts to happen more and more is that as we start to give more and more just from our heart space, we're doing it from a place of, I don't need anything in return. But the beautiful part about this is that as we serve, we are also going to receive. And so what we get is we receive more energy so that we're able to live our soul mission more and more. And God will always provide for us when we're on this path. When we choose the path of service to others, we are living in a path with God. And as we live this path with God, God is always going to provide for us. So the money that we need, it will always be there. On this path of service to self, it's like we do things for money. We do things for greed. And the thing that happens is that we're then always chasing this. And it always like, it's hard for us to find it because we're not living in alignment with our soul, with God. When we're living from this place, all the money, all the abundance that we could ever need will be provided to us because we are going to be provided for when we're living on God's path. The service to others' path is God's path because God is love. And when we choose the path of love, we live in accordance with God. Does that make sense? So, if you want to live the path of service to others so that you properly ascend, these are some ways that you can implement it into your life. Now, this path will become a lot easier when you do work on yourself, meaning you do healing work, meaning you really start to see where your wounds are. Because the service to self path is a wounded path. The service to others path is a more healed path. When we live from our wounds, we live from ego. Ego is going to run us because it controls more. When we live from a healed place, we live from service to others. It's much more easier for us to live the path of service to others because we have a lot of love within ourselves from our healing. So if you want to live this path, go into your healing work. Start to really learn yourself, learn your wounds, and heal from them. And this will make this path so much easier. Because when you go on your healing path, what you recognize is that you always were enough. You don't necessarily need anything. And so you just give and you serve selflessly. And then as you go down that path, you recognize that, wow, I have a lot more energy. Like for instance, right now, I'm making this video and it's just like endless energy. I'm not exactly sure where it's coming from, but I can just keep talking and it feels like all this is just flowing through me. This is choosing the path of service to others. And as we all do this more, then that new earth that we want to create, moving to fourth density together, our expanding consciousness, awakening consciousness, it will naturally happen because we've all been choosing this path. We've gone into our healing work and we're choosing the path of love and God. And that's how we'll create the new earth. So if you want to properly ascend, choose this path. Go into your healing work, choose this path. That's how we do it. Okay? And if you want a space where I teach you exactly how to do this, our October theme inside of Ascension University is choosing the path of service to others. So we have daily practices to do, daily breathwork practices so that you can heal. And then we have implementation into daily life so that you can go on this path of service to others, so that you can live in an abundant and free place, because this is also a path of freedom within yourself and outside of you. So if you want to go and join Ascension University, it's the first link down in the description. We have people joining from all over the world, choosing this path of service to others. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace and love.